So now that we have these basics out of the way, let's move on to the next part of this entire lesson, which is creating your character. In order to create a character, well, you have to really think about the technique of the character first, okay? Now, think about the technique. Again, we have line, value, texture, shape, form, space, and color. Think about all these together. Eventually we'll get into the principles when we get into drawing the scene. But right now, let's stick with the basics and the elements and how to make them create your character. In creating your character, a lot of times when people start drawing, they will come up to me and say, "What? I can only draw a stick figure. How can I be a better artist? That doesn't make any..." What? Why would you say that? You're automatically already an artist. You're drawing. I see you drawing. If you have a stick figure on the paper, you are drawing. It means that you have taken the first steps into drawing. No one expects to be perfect. Everyone who's a great artist now probably sucked when they were young. That's just a fact, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. It means that they picked up a pencil and kept drawing, while other people's put that pencil down, played sports, went to do the sciences, went to do medicine, completely different fields of passion. And so when it comes to art, it's all about just practicing what you want to practice. Again, we're trying to make comics. In order to make a comic, usually it takes knowing how to draw characters. So let's get into that. When I start drawing a character, I'm going to start the exact same way you do, by drawing a stick figure. However, you have to be honest about and genuine about all the steps of drawing. If you're trying to draw a stick figure, then draw one that actually looks like a person. Do not draw a circle for a head. Do not just draw a big line for the body, and don't draw an upside-down V for his arms and upside-down V for his legs. That's not a human. You know it's not. Trust yourself and trust your knowledge. You have seen a human before, and you can imagine the shapes and forms that make up the parts of a human. You can tell my head is not a circle. It may be round because of the hair, but my head's an oval. And because it's an oval, when you're drawing a picture, make it an oval. When you're drawing a stick figure, make it an oval. This oval is going to decide the rest of your character. Let me use a pen, make it a bit easier for you to see. When you are drawing this oval, this is going to measure every line on the stick figure. Use this to measure your stick figure. Please, I promise you, this will help you so much. Your neck is half of this measurement. Your shoulders, this line right here, take your head, put it on its side. All right, that's from here to here. Excellent. Now, for the chest, you want an equilateral triangle. Equilateral means all three sides are equal. So, take the exact same length, just even it out. Okay, and again, trust your measurement skills. If you have pencils near you, try and use them to measure the distances. Use the tools you have available to you. Use your tools. We're in the 21st century, y'all. We'll use what we have available to us. Back in the day, they might not have had erasers as readily available that were as effective. They used to leave a lot of residue on the paper. Now you have erasers that you can draw all day long, erase everything, and it'll look like nothing was left on the paper. That's beautiful. Care about that. Care about the tools you're using. So, back to the stick figure. Now, once with equilateral triangle, we're going to go down to the abdomen. It's where all of your organs are. However, they're kind of unimportant. What's actually important is the fact they have a spine there. Your spine is what's able to bend. So take this length once more. Put a line down here. That is your spine and your abdomen. Okay? From here, you have to do your hips and your waist. Easy peasy. Take the exact same length line, put that down at your waist. And you'll notice these are about even, right? So you can kind of like imagine this little rectangle of a body here. And over time, you'll get into learning how to bend a rectangle. Okay, but we'll get to that later. So now that you have this, add the 4 joints that allow your body parts to bend. Okay? From here, to figure out how long your arm is, take your arm, bend it here. You will notice these are about the exact same length. If that's the case, then you know that this line, you can use the exact same line to measure them. Take this length, put it about here. Excellent. Now I know where it goes. Now I know where it goes. You can continue the second part of the arm. And again, the circles are going to represent the joints, where your body is able to bend. Care about that. Think about the physics of how your body is able to bend. Can your arm bend any further than this? If the answer is no, then you have to care about that in your artwork. Care about that. If your shoulder's here and your arm's perfectly straight, you know that this is all the movement that you can do with your arm. Be wise about that. Now, let's go to the legs. Legs is the same exact thing. Top half of the leg, use this line to measure it. Bottom half of the leg, use the line to measure it. Now remember, these bottom joints, this is simply where your wrist is, and this is simply where your ankle is. Your hand and foot needs to still go under it. They are roughly same size as the head, which at first seems weird to you. Promise you. The hands, if you do this, you will see they are roughly the height of your head. And if that is the case, you got to think about that in your artwork as well. Measure it accordingly. With your feet, they are roughly, because they're actually kind of flattened, are the height of your neck, which remember is only half of the head height. That's an easy stick figure. Once you do this stick figure, you can do a stick figure in any position and they will look correct. Let's say we want to do, let's say we want to do like a knight. Okay, give him a super easy visor. Make it a bit dynamic. We'll have his arm coming up, have the other arm down here. And again, you see, I'm confident and comfortable in knowing the measurements of these lines because it's just a stick figure. It's a draft. It's a sketch. You're trying to get your idea on paper. Notice that I said I want to see a knight, and I'm now able to show you a knight very quickly. I don't need to draw all the details of a knight. I have to get my idea on paper so I can showcase it to you. So once I'm able to do that, I've done my job. That's what I was trying to do, and I've accomplished it. Be proud of knowing how and what you are trying to accomplish. If you know what you're trying to accomplish, then you can work to achieve it. And once it's achieved, you know that you have accomplished it. I promise, it seems kind of cyclical, but it works. All right, so we want to make sure the knight is armed. So we have a little sword, it's adorable. Excellent. All right, do not tell him that I drew his sword poorly, because it's fine. So we're going to also have a shield here as well. And notice that the fists, his hands, were now balled up. If you look at a fist, it's kind of really a cube. Don't think harder than that. Make it a cube when you're drawing it. If you can make it a cube, then it's much easier to sketch out and much easier to get that idea onto paper. And you have a knight. Oh, let's give him a shield. Duh. Gotta let him look prepared. And now you have a knight. Now, from here in doing this step, you can make entire scenes with just 2 stick figures. If you have a stick figure and he's talking to another one, you want to, of course, get the feeling of how they are standing and what they're doing. Let's say these two are walking. Remember how I was telling you about forms and depth in a picture? If something is further away, it's smaller. If something is closer, then it's larger. So if I draw this guy a bit larger than the other one, it'll look like he is closer to you, and so he's going to be in front of the other character. So when I draw them together, it will now look like they are talking to each other. And with them talking to each other, again, you have a basic scene. Your idea is on paper. It does not matter that they're not perfect. It doesn't matter that some of the lines are a bit bendy. It doesn't matter that your circle might not be perfect. It doesn't matter. You can work on that later on. That's all practice. But you want to be able to have an idea, have a concept, put it on paper so that you can keep working on it. I have about a dozen sketchbooks at my house, and all of them are the different eras of my artwork where I sucked, okay, and I had to keep practicing to get better. If I didn't keep practicing, I wouldn't be able to teach you this class right now. I had to suck first to know if I was bad or good, what was bad, what I needed to work on. You have to be able to look at your artwork and be honest with yourself. If you are messing something up, what are you messing up? Why are you messing it up? What can you do to make it better? If you know you're having a problem drawing cubes all the time, and it seems to always be off balance, what's wrong with your work? Is it because the parallel lines aren't parallel enough? Is it because you're shrinking them? think about what you're doing, think about how you can fix what you're doing, and how what you're doing can be used to keep making you better. So, now, let's get another stick figure on the page. Excellent. And with this stick figure, we're going to put him in a really basic position, but I'm also going to teach you the next part of how to make the character. The next part is, of course, adding form. Adding the fact that they have flesh, that they have bones, that they have muscles. You have to show that they're a person, all right? In order to do that, actually, now the stick figure's here, you can also, again, think about the measurements while we're drawing, and that's okay. We're going to use pencil to draw a quick stick figure here. I'm going to get the same position. And then over this one, I'm going to draw the forms for you. So you can see kind of the steps of why I draw it like this and how it gets me to understanding what I'm trying to draw. Now again, normally I would draw this all in pencil until I get to the finalized version of the picture. I normally draw stick figures in pencil. You can just erase them afterwards and your picture looks great. You have all the pen and ink done. It's fantastic. But I want to make sure you guys understand what I'm trying to do here, all right? So get a super easy hand there, bada bing. Then we're going to add on forms. Now the main forms we're going to use is going to be a sphere, not a circle. Okay, it is a sphere now because it's a form. And that means that other forms can connect to it. The other forms that are going to be here, again, are going to be the cube. And a variation of that, the rectangular prism. And from there, also, the cylinder. The cylinder is a very, very important form. What do you think on the body uses a cylinder? Literally, you know, your arms, your legs, and your abdomen. Think about it. These are going to be able to help you figure out the form and the shadows and the values of your form later on. Don't worry, we'll get to that. So, let's start with the person, okay? Now, in order to really begin, I usually actually start with the chest and the abdomen, the torso in general. Why? Because everything else is going to be based off of that. For the top of the torso, let's just do an easy rectangular prism. When you have an easy rectangular prism here, it lets you kind of feel automatically the shapes of the body. Now, when it comes to the abdomen, you can do a cylinder, or I have definitely seen plenty of people do a rectangular prism. I've seen some people just do like a weird oval for it. I like to be pretty specific onto what the real body shape is going to be. Usually a cylinder can work, okay? But that does not stop any of you from choosing to make it a rectangular prism. Point still stands, okay? It's as long as you are comfortable knowing what forms you're using and how the body is moving. So let me keep going. Let's go on to the waist, okay, and the hips. You're going to use a triangular prism for this one, okay? I'll draw it over here so you can see what the form looks like. All right, all right. Let me draw it again, so I have another example in a different space. When you add it on the body, it's like this. It's going to be, remember, it has to be as wide as your shoulders. If that is the case, still is the same here with an average person. So let's do the triangular prism. Now, you basically have the torso. Let's add your joints in, your shoulders, your hips as well, okay? Let's just do a circle form, easy peasy. Now, cylinder. Circle, cylinder, ooh, and the cylinder up here. Circle for the wrist, cylinder, and for the hand, I'll show you that later. That's a whole cool lesson. My favorite thing to draw are hands. I love drawing hands. Very fun to do, but insanely difficult to do. I will not lie to you. I had to take a whole year of just practicing hands to really figure out a science that let me understand why hands are the way they are, how to easily draw them. And I'll tell you that in a moment, my friends. Now, let's get to the legs. Again, you have the joint here, and you have the actual top of the thigh. The top of the thigh is as wide as this entire length of the triangular prism. When you do that, that is going to get you the thickness of the thigh that you're trying to showcase. and the cylinder here. Okay, and remember, you have a kneecap. You need your kneecap. Do not forget your kneecap. It goes in front of these two cylinders, and these cylinders will connect in back here. Notice this bottom cylinder had a bit of a curve in there, a habit of mine. And then you have your ankle. And for your feet, I tend to do them as a small rectangular prism, kind of a, how to describe it, it's kind of like a trapezoidal prism here, and then a wedge at the back. And for me, this shape lets me show a foot doing anything it really needs to do. If it's trying to bend up, see? I'm able to show it moving through space. You can understand what this foot is doing. So I'm adding the forms on. I'll make sure I get these basic three-dimensional forms. Okay. From here, you have the basics of a person. Of course, very rough sketch. I'm gonna draw one again for you in a second. Now, when you're doing the head, think of the head as a circle, a cube, and a cylinder. Okay? These are the three basic forms you want to think of when you're drawing it. Okay? Now, these are adorable sketches, I just wanted to get that to you. I'm going to show you my method of how I actually measure out a head. Okay? Start with a circle. Start with a circle. Add a cross in the middle of the circle. That's a measuring line for you. And in the middle of each of these line segments, add a halfway point. These halfway points are going to help you measure everything on your head from there. Next, you're going to start with a square. The square, you can tell how wide it needs to be because of these two midpoint lines, and how high up it needs to be because of this midpoint line. It's a square. That means all four sides must be the same length. From here, you have the basics to a whole head. Let's start with the nose. The nose starts at the middle here, and it goes to in between the top of the square, bottom of the circle. Let's do a simple nose, easy peasy. The nose and the ears are the exact same size. I promise you, it will sound weird at first, and then you're gonna look at every single friend you have around you, and you're gonna realize, wow, humans are weird. And they're gonna be about the same size. Notice at the bottom of the ear is hanging off in space right here. With it hanging off in space, that leaves you room for your jaw, which is 5 major lines, okay? These 2 lines here, the ones that go directly down, the 2 lines that go from the back to the front, and then your actual chin. All right, so you want to think of these as the depth lines. This is the horizontal line. These are the vertical lines. And combine these all into a chin, that makes sense. Or a jaw, that makes sense, sorry. The chin should go just a bit below the bottom of the square. This leaves room for you to have it, okay? Now from here, you're gonna have the the eyebrow comes to this midpoint line. Your eye is in between the top of the square and this midpoint line as well. And your eye can look however you need it to look. However, in order to measure how large your eye should be, you should be able to draw about a 1/3 eye in between them. If there's about another eye that could fit in between snugly, you're doing it right. Your lips, the top of the lip is basically a long M, with the top of the M touching the bottom of the circle, a line in the middle for the actual mouth, and then a long bowl at the bottom of the mouth. For the top of the head, just complete it at a circle. Easy peasy. And you have a basic head. From here, you can draw his head in any position, and it will help you understand better how it should be working. But that's a whole lesson for another time, my friends. We will get on that, do not worry. You're able to have an entire character based off of just understanding these basic concepts. Okay? Super easy face. And again, knowing these forms helps you get a basic character done. Now, the last portion I just want to get before I have to go is, of course, how to put all this together. Use forms and shapes and lines and the elements to sketch out everything. There is no reason that you need to try and be perfect and you are just trying to do this. There's no reason you need to act like you're supposed to learn all of this in only like a week. Don't do that to yourself. I literally teach children, like I actively teach them. I tell them this all the time. There is no reason to compare yourself to me. I'm in my 20s. Why would you, as a child who's still a teen, compare yourself to someone who has an literal decade of life over you? That's unfair to yourself. You have to be honest with yourself as you're drawing. As you're honest with yourself, you're then able to draw more comfortably without stressing yourself out trying to be too perfect. So, easy peasy. The final aspect of just trying to start your comic, know how to make a scene, how to make a thumbnail of scenes, all right? Start by just making a little box. If you can have a little box, you can sketch out your ideas before you end up using an entire piece of paper and you end up not liking the one idea you tried on it and throwing the whole paper away. Why do that to yourself? You need the paper to practice more art. Don't get mad at yourself. Learn how to practice better. Never listen to anyone who tells you practice makes perfect. No, it doesn't, because if you're practicing wrong, then you'll never actually be closer to perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect, all right? What that really means is know what you're trying to do. If you're trying to get better at drawing cubes, then why are you drawing spheres? That doesn't make sense. Know what you're drawing, try to draw it, learn the steps necessary to drawing what you're trying to draw. If you need to draw a cube, learn lines, learn value, learn shape, all right? Now, keep the basics going. Let's have a character here. He's pointing at something in the distance. What it is, the world may never know. He also has a staff in his hand, with serious eyes. He's talking to a random person. We don't know who yet, and that's okay. There's an entire scene going on here. If you want to make it fancier, he now has a hood and a cape. Ta-da! So now he's a full-on character. And you have an entire scene thought of already. Let's say we do someone else, and it might be what he's looking at. So let's make him actually really small. And again, you know the general sizes of human beings. So if you see him as being small, let's leave that hood on him. If you leave him as being small, then it will look like he is small in this picture, and whatever else is in the picture might be slightly larger. Let's add a little line here. That makes it look like he is on his own area. Now in the back, I'll add another layer or a mid-ground or another line that helps create a basic scene. Notice that I didn't do anything fancy here. I made a basic stick figure. I did two jagged lines that look interesting. I want to make some mountains in the back. Let me do a couple cool-looking triangles that I don't draw the bottom of. This is a basic picture. Yet, you can completely see he is standing on a surface looking in the distance, and it looks great. That's the basics of it. A person understands what was in my head, what I was trying to get out, and can now help me create more from it. Let's say we have a line here to make a basic ground, and there's like 3 friends walking along the road. How they all look? I don't know. Let's try it out. Let's make sure they're stick figures first. Maybe it's like a really tall one. And again, it's a sketch. It really doesn't matter if I happen to be a bit off of it. It's A-okay. All right. Easy peasy. Notice that this is a basic character walking. Let's make his head a bit smaller. That way, automatically, he will be a bit shorter than the other character. Let's make his hand, one of his hands on his hip while he's walking. Maybe a she. You don't know. It's only a stick figure, so you can't guess too much. That's also what's really cool about stick figures sometimes. They really let your mind imagine whatever you want. Every time people are looking at my stick figures, they always ask, is it a guy or a girl? And then when I say I don't know, everyone has a completely different response to what the picture actually is or what's happening in the picture. And I think that's actually really interesting a lot of the times, that they don't know completely what the picture is yet, and it lets them make it up. That's great. I love when people get to have an open mind while looking at my picture. Let's say we're drawing a character who's flying. Cool. We'll have them like this, easy peasy stick figure. But that picture might not be that dynamic. Maybe you actually wanted to have a background in the picture. Let's add some mountains again. Easy to do that. And let's have the person have a trail behind them as if they're flying through the sky. As it gets closer to you, let's add a bit of space in the trail so it looks like he's coming from a distance. And let's make the head large. With the head being large, it makes it look like it's very close to you. So then, you make the rest of the body fit to it. With the triangle getting smaller as it goes away, it looks like this portion of the body is, of course, smaller. Now it looks like his fist is right up in the camera, and this person is flying towards you. And again, as it gets smaller and smaller, now this person looks like they are actually like his hero, flying towards you. There's mountains in the background. Awesome. Let's add a little ground, something that they could be flying from. Easy way to do it. And just, again, these are super basic thumbnails, but this is how you can start getting your comic drawn. Doing these basic thumbnails, again, in like the couple minutes I was showing you this, I was able to draw these 5 ideas. You can add forms on in any way you want. SpongeBob looks very, very different than Gumball or Steven Universe or all these other random cartoons. They look very different from each other. Yet, they still have a lot of the same basic elements. They still have to use lines to show a character. They have to be able to show fur on a character. How can you do that? They all have different ways to do it, but they have to show the technique of these elements, okay? Now, a summary of everything, just to make sure you remember it, all right? And this will also help you now implement the principles, all right? And this will complete our little class for today. With the principles, all right, you have balance, emphasis, you have harmony, you have variety, you have gradation, you then have pattern, you have movement, and you have proportion. Now, what is very important, technique is how you use the elements. Style is how you unify the principles. Everyone has to know the exact same techniques. You do. I can't make a square any different than anyone else if we don't all know that a square has to have 4 equal lines. That's a square. If I draw it any different than that, I'm not using correct technique, and everyone else on this planet can tell me that I'm wrong because we all know what a square is supposed to be. The elements must be what they are, or we can't move forward. If I'm trying to draw a triangle, you know what a triangle must be. So if you know what that is, then from there, that is the technique you must learn. However, style is what really people are looking at. SpongeBob and Homer Simpson, they are both humanoid creatures. They both have 2 arms, they both have 2 legs, they both have a head, they both have eyes, they both have a nose, they both have a mouth. We understand they are characters. However, the style is so very, very different. And that's what you must consider while you're creating your artwork. It is fine if your art isn't that great. No, I promise you that's fine. Because I'm not going to tell you that, like, Fairly Odd Parents is horrible art. No, it's cartoon art. It's supposed to be different and simple. However, notice that you can have very simple art and still get a really awesome story told. That's where these principles come in. Balance, all right? Let's talk about balance. It really is straightforward. If you have a picture and there's something heavy on one side of the picture, something small on one side of the picture, this picture is not balanced. Your eye can tell that this side of the picture is heavier than the other side. And with it being heavier than the other side, it looks a bit off, and that's okay. Emphasis. Is something in the picture more important than other things in the picture? Now, you might be saying, well, doesn't that make the picture off balance? Yes, it does. That doesn't mean the picture is bad. It simply is a principle of the picture. SpongeBob's entire anatomy is off balance. He's a giant square with toothpicks for his arms and legs. I don't care. I love that show. That's fine. You know, Dragon Ball Z, half of anime, no one's chin is actually a V, okay? No one's nose is only a V here. That doesn't make sense, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't. There's a story and a moral trying to be taught to you, and that's what's important. That's why you can watch these different shows and still love them, even and look past the artwork. All right? Harmony. Does it feel like it was all done by the same person? Does it feel correct? Does it feel like this picture was intentional? Does it look like someone accidentally spilled a bunch of paint on a piece of paper? Or does it look like someone was intentionally splattering paint on a paper? That is the difference of harmony and someone who just threw paint on paper. That's why Picasso and all these actors, all these artists can be very famous for something that you might go, well, a fifth grader can do that. Except a fifth grader might actually not know how to add good variety to their picture. They may not know to add 48 different colors. They might only use red and blue. There's different things that as you grow up you can realize with these principles. Variety. Are there different things to look at in a picture? If you draw a picture and it's literally just a bunch of squares over and over and over, that's super boring. The second you add a square and a triangle and a circle and a rectangle, it's a bit more interesting. The second you make it a cube and a squiggle and a spaceship, okay, that is now the most interesting. With more variety in your picture, it becomes more interesting, all right? Gradation, all right, remember when we were talking about value? There are a billion different grays between white and black. Gradation is knowing how to smoothly show going from dark to light. This is all the same color, that is all, sorry, shade, or value. That is all the same value. This is all the same value. That is all the same value. But this is one part of it, okay? Pattern. Are things repeated in your picture? Movement. Are your eyes moving around a picture? If your eyes are moving around a picture, then the person's more interested in your picture. Thus, there is movement in your picture, all right? Not, is there a car driving in the picture? There could be a car doing nothing in the picture, but a car will still look very beautiful with the curves of the car. And then the final one is proportion. Again, yes, there are comic characters and cartoon characters who look out of proportion. Their head is the size of their entire body, but you don't care. It's still hilarious and fun to look at. But when you notice these proportions, they then become the style of the artist. Again, style is how you use the principles. Technique is how you use the elements. And that is really what you're gonna need when you're trying to create your comic and when you're trying to create your characters. If you're trying to create your characters in your comic, you have to be able to understand the principles so that when you're looking at these pictures, you can go, this is a bit of a balanced picture. I like that his cape is covering the right half of this picture and then his body's covering the left half of the picture. It looks very balanced. There's harmony in it. There is variety. There's a lot of things to look at. Also, there's a lot of movement in this picture. I like that he used the cloth on the cape in order to show movement. And furthermore, the proportions are great. I love that his arms look the right size, that his finger is pointing in the distance, not behind him or up into the air. You know where it's going. You can see these aspects of the character, and you must be able to now use these vocab words when you're talking about art. The second that a person comes up to me and they're like, my God, the rhythm of this picture truly allows the patterns and movement to truly flourish, allowing the value and the lines and the texture to look magnificent. Okay, obviously, you know a bit more of art than the average person, which is great. You want someone who cares about your art to talk about your art, all right? Sorry, a bunch of sketching here, but these are the basics to it. If you can really, really care about the technique, care about the style that you're going for, and then put all that together on your characters and your story, that is when you can start creating a comic. Yes, there's this whole process of publishing, there's this whole process of, well, who's gonna pay for this? My friend, start with getting an idea. Get your idea out of your head onto paper. When you can do that, then you can start moving forward in your concepts. Then you can move forward in your dreams and your goals. That is what you wanna learn, and that is how you will create a comic. Now, again, my name is Edward James Stinson III, and this has been an absolutely entertaining tutorial I've been able to give for you guys. Hope to do some more in the future, actually. That'd be pretty interesting. I am glad to give this opportunity to any of you who are interested in following up on art or creating comics, creating your ideas. Please, 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 absolutely stick to it. It is something that you can and should do. Thank you.